Hi everyone, welcome to week 4. Approaching the halfway point. One thing to note before we get started, of course, as always, this is a video to overview the activities of week 4 and a little bit on into week 5. One thing I want to note is that Friday 10/23 is the last day to drop a course without grade penalty. So Friday of week 4. I only think it's fair to let students know that. So that's the first thing I want to note. So first, I want to look at the course calendar. Then I will overview some of the assignments that are coming up. As always, this is an overview. It's not intended to stand in for your reading thoroughly and understanding the assignments and the rubrics themselves. So here in week 4, I'm really going to focus on the assignments. Of course, at the end of week 3, we know it's really important for us to turn this entering the conversation draft in by Sunday, because on Monday morning, I'm going to turn around and put you into peer review groups so that by Wednesday, you can provide peer review, provide good peer feedback to 2 of your peers. So we'll each be assigned 2 peers drafts to review, and that's due by Wednesday. It's kind of a quick turnaround. That's why there's no late work due for the draft on Sunday. So of course, in addition to our discussion board, we have that peer review due by Sunday. I need to point out again that the peer review itself is not due late, because your peers' assignments depend on this peer review. So I can't allow you to turn it in late, because that affects when your peers can reply to the week 4 discussion board, which asks them to reflect on the feedback that they have gotten. And otherwise, we just want to get that feedback early so that we can put it into practice, so we can use it. One thing we will learn about good feedback, a quality of good feedback, is that it's practicable. If you get holistic feedback about how to rewrite an essay the night before it's due, that's not good feedback, because you can't use it to improve your writing in your draft. Okay, so Wednesday will bring us into the peer review. So we'll get some feedback on our drafts by Wednesday. By Sunday of this week, we'll have looked at it, we'll have reflected on it, written about it in the replies to our discussion board. And we'll end this week by having a brief informal reflection on what we've learned so far in the class. I'll look at that assignment in a bit more detail here in a moment. I'm just going to sneak into week 5 here, and you'll see that next Wednesday, the Wednesday of week 5, we will come up with a revision plan. You'll get some feedback from your peers here. I'll give you some feedback on your draft and on your I'll chime in with what your peers have said. We'll take all of that feedback. We're learning how to use feedback at the end of week 4 here. And in week 5, we'll take all that feedback, come up with a plan that we can execute to create the best draft we can. And you can see that by Sunday of week 5, we will have revised and submitted a complete formal draft, final draft, dare I say, of our entering the conversation assignment. Okay, so let's move on and look at a few assignments in more detail. So here is our first chance to give good peer feedback, do good peer review. There's a lot. I've included a lot of detail for this assignment because, as we know, it's worth quite a bit. This is actually the most, at points-wise, this is the most high-stake assignment we've had yet to date in this class. So what we know is that by Monday morning, we'll be put very early Monday morning so that we can work on this during Monday if we want to. We will be assigned 2 peers' drafts to review. It's really, how do we do this? Well, it's really important that we read. I would actually advise that you read our feedback improvement reading, and that you actually post in our discussion board, because our reading this week and our discussion board this week is really focused on helping you understand what good, productive, helpful, quality peer feedback looks like. So really the step one for this assignment is to do our reading and do our discussion board and understand what good feedback looks like. So step one, make sure we do our reading and know how to give good quality peer review, peer feedback. I'll give you a hint. Peer editing is not the same thing as peer review. It's not the same thing as good feedback. And we're not really just looking for editing here. Secondly, watch this boring but informative video on how Canvas peer review works. And I won't make you watch a video within a video, but really step two is to check this out, because it's going to show you how the mechanics of Canvas's peer review. I'll be available to help you work your way through these. I think it's pretty intuitive, but this boring yet informative video does help show you the 3 ways you'll be giving feedback, right? You'll be filling out the rubric for each draft, which means you're just going to click through and say, yep, I think it meets this criteria well, this one is poor. It just gives it's quick. It gives a quick snapshot to the writer of how you interpreted the assignment, how you understood their performance in the draft. It's honestly, if I'm being honest, it's the least important part. It's just kind of you saying, I think your argument was excellent, but your use of sources needs improvement. It's quick and gives them a quick snapshot. Second way we're giving feedback is we're leaving in-text annotated comments. These are the comments where you can actually click on you can highlight a word in the draft itself, highlight a sentence and say, this is an excellent example of what I've talked about in my summative feedback. This is a great example of a claim that's supported well with evidence and a warrant, and shows how that evidence supports the claim. And thirdly, we need to leave summative feedback. This is that feedback that you get in the right-hand corner in the box. I've been leaving it to you that says, like, Dear Wes, generally this is what I think about the assignment. So you'll be leaving feedback in these 3, these are the 3 mechanisms at your disposal. And here I go into them in much more detail. It's worth noting, summative feedback should be a long paragraph in that dialog box, asking for it to be about 250 words. And it should address, you might have to go over that word count to make, you might have to go over that word count, because look, these are based on these questions are based on the rubric for the assignment. So I'm asking you to generally overview, how well do you think this piece, let the author know how well this piece meets these criteria. So be sure to really understand what we're expecting from the summative feedback. I'm asking for 2 annotations at least per page. That means that you should be leaving comments, you should leave at least 2 comments per page on your peer's draft. And lastly, least importantly, right, you'll want to go through and just kind of click through this rubric to give the author a snapshot of what you thought was strong, what you thought needed work. I'll allow you to look through this criteria, this rubric yourself, but I think this rubric reflects what we will understand good peer review is. So this rubric is based on our readings this week on how to give good feedback. And as you can see, I'm going to be grading you on the peer review. I'm actually going to go through, evaluate the comments you made, and give you a grade based on the quality of that peer review. So if I have to say this again, I can't emphasize enough that this is not just a do it and get the full points situation. This is a quality-based evaluation. So let's not waste anyone's time. Let's not waste your time. Let's not waste your author's time. Let's all make really good use of this this assignment and actually get something out of peer review, perhaps for the first time in our lives. Who knows? Okay, so for the week 4 discussion board, it's business as usual, except for one small wrinkle. I won't call it a wrinkle, that has a negative connotation. Perhaps it's a fold. Perhaps it has a positive connotation. Based on some of the feedback I got in week 3, I've decided to try a large discussion format. You may have noticed in previous discussion boards, you were only having a discussion with 3 other people in your class. I think it's worth trying out the larger discussion board format. So instead of just being in small discussion groups for this discussion, it will be a large discussion group among all 20 students in the class. So just be aware of that. You'll have a lot more initial posts to which to reply. Okay, and finally, we're ending this week with our week 4 informal reflection. We know that our class ends with this final reflective portfolio, that our final assignment asks us to select, collect, and reflect on the learning we've done in this class. So it might be worth your while to go and review the final reflective portfolio in service of that assignment. Here in week 4, now that we've gone through a significant portion of the class, we're just going to start to do some informal reflection to help make it a habit, because it's a really good learning habit. Reflecting on our learning is how we actually work to remember and then apply our learning in other situations. So this assignment asks you to reflect on the ideas, some of the main ideas we've discussed so far in this term, including discourse communities, argument as conversation, argument as rhetorical conversation, how to structure academic texts, how to structure in-text citations, how to incorporate citations, how to choose citation conventions, and this week especially a focus on the idea of providing and responding to feedback in our writing process. So our task here simply asks you to to sort of process what you've learned. In your own words, you don't even need to go back and quote from the sources if you don't want. I just kind of want you to write in your own words what you remember, what you think you have learned, what you'll take away about these concepts. And secondly, this is where we're beginning to do what is asked of us in the final assignment. Secondly, take some of these ideas, maybe even some of these assignments, and apply them to the learning outcomes from this course, right? So ultimately, you'll be asked in this class to demonstrate. You'll be asked to prove that you have learned to provide constructive peer feedback. So in this brief informal reflection, this is where you might simply say, well, in this assignment, I could cite this evidence to show that, yeah, I have learned how to provide constructive peer feedback. Okay, so of course, I expect you to spend a little bit more time understanding this assignment. But the last thing I want you to know is it is formatted as a discussion only because I want you to be able to see what your peers write. You don't have to respond if you don't want to, but it really might be helpful if you see that one of your peers really connects, for instance, connects the idea of Toulmin terms and explicit argumentation. If one of your peers says, hey, this is actually a concept that I use to analyze a source in my own research or something like that. We're all in the same boat, so these ideas, I want us to be able to share them as we show how we're meeting these outcomes. Okay, week 4, you're almost there. Let me know if you have any questions.